Hey everyone, it's Tokyo Joe here, and I'm coming at you live from Tokyo Midtown, Tokyo Town, in the land of Japan. And we're still alive here, friends. We're still waiting for the big quake to happen. Hasn't happened yet. So far so good, right? As they say. Well, friends, today I'm here to review a very famous and iconic film that you all have clicked on this link to hear about, because I know you're all big fans of it. It was, in many respects, a cathartic, epoch-changing film for those of us in Tokyo Town, especially. Why do I say that? I will explain. Before I get onto it, I want to say that I really regard this film as kind of one of the milestones in the time eras of life in Tokyo for Westerners. Let's talk about the Japanese too, because I really believe that people can judge their time based on big events, right? And I think that this was actually one of them. I think there are some events in the 90s that made the news and people know about that are also big events. An example of that would be the big beginning of the 90s with the big recession that hit Tokyo and Japan, right? After all the exuberance of the 80s and the 70s and all that happened before, suddenly it all popped and slowly deflated. Didn't happen quite in such a spectacular fashion as people might think, but people knew about it. We all knew about it when it happened, right? 91, 92, right? But the other big event that happened in the 90s that people remember was the gas attack in the subway, because that was a huge event here in Tokyo. So I would say, 91, 95 is kind of the new Japan, right? The new Japan is the one where, for the first time in decades, things just start peeling off and start stagnating a little bit, right? Then 95, we got the gas attack. That's kind of part of that era. And then like 2000s, I think people were hoping that this would all change. More optimism, and new era for Tokyo, new era for Japan. Didn't happen. But things happened like this movie. And in fact, friends, it was 10 years ago this fall that the film was filmed in Tokyo Town and elsewhere in Japan, where you see in the film Charlotte goes down. Oh, wait. Spoiler alert from Tokyo Joe. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the film. Charlotte goes down to Kyoto and other places in the film, right? But, I'll tell you something. I will be talking about plot of the film, and I will be talking about things that happen in the film, right? And I'll do this over 2 or 3 parts, right? And the first thing I'll do is talk about the impact it had on people and their perception of Tokyo and Japan. And I think this film really changed it, because, let's be honest, there were some pretty awful films made in the 80s and 90s, right? Like the one with Sir Sean Connery and I think Wesley Snipes, right? Set in Los Angeles, and there are a couple others, right? But I'll be honest with you, the impression of Japan and the Japanese from these films is not that great. This film kind of turned it all on its head, and it made light of it, and it made fun of it in a sense, and made fun of Westerners in Japan, and I think it was an interesting film for the time, because this only came out a couple of years after 9/11, and the world had changed a little bit, and I think this was a great film for Japan, and a great film for Westerners who are interested in Japan for different reasons, which I will explain. But let's get on with the review. And there will be spoilers, but if you haven't seen the film, don't worry. I won't be explaining everything, right? If you visit the Tokyo Forum, www.thetokyoforum.tk, www.thetokyoforum.tk, you will see my review there. And it's not really a formal movie review, but it's called 10 Years Since Lost in Translation Was Filmed in Tokyo. And I will quote myself, okay? 10 years since Lost in Translation was filmed here in Tokyo. That's a long time, friends, and yet it still feels like yesterday. Friends, the rumors are, and these are just rumors, okay? They're denied by people, that the characters are based on real people in the 90s and 00s. Well, friends, they are not based on me, but there have been a few people just like them, that is, just like the characters in the film, over the decades, friends. The great thing about this film is that there ain't no other white people in Tokyo except the characters and the two blowhards at the bar. And friends, there ain't too many of these in Tokyo these days either, because they all mostly live in Hong Kong now after the big shake on 3/11. What I'm saying there is, if you watch the film, there ain't any other white people in Tokyo. There's the gym instructor, right? The aquarobics instructor. There are the, I believe there are the two guys at the bar, right? There is the character, which I'll talk about soon, played by Anna Faris, I believe. The blonde girl. Is that who it is? Yeah. And the main characters, right? Bob, played by the great Bill Murray, and Scarlett Johansson's character, Charlotte. And then you got Giovanni Ribisi, excuse me, too much whiskey. You got Giovanni Ribisi playing Charlotte's husband, who is a photographer in and around Tokyo. There are scenes in the movie where you see them all sitting at a table with some other white people, but you don't really get to know those characters too much, and I won't count them. There is, of course, another famous scene. Germans get a special treatment in this film because not only do you have the Germanic-sounding aquarobics instructor, who's kind of portrayed as a little bit annoying, you also have the two guys in the sauna, right? And they're talking, and they're annoying too. It kind of reminds me of that scene in Darjeeling Limited with the two ladies on the train, and one of the brothers pipes up and says, "Ladies, please," and they stop. And then when they get kicked off the train, ladies poking their heads out the window saying, "Shame on you." So that's kind of funny. But you have these other characters. They're only in the film for a couple of seconds, really. Other than that, there ain't no white people in Tokyo Town. You look around the film, you don't see any other white people in Tokyo Town. None at all. Which ain't realistic, right? So I think this is a perception that it's a self-fulfilling perception that a lot of foreigners have before they come, which is, I'm going to be the only gaijin in Tokyo Town. No one else but me. I'm special. Not only that, but the film will make it even more than that when you realize who the characters are and what they're doing in Tokyo Town, right? And it will make every gaijin feel like when they first come to Japan that they're going to be treated like superheroes or rock stars, which I can tell you now. If you're a gaijin and you're thinking of coming to Tokyo Town and you think this is going to happen, well, think again, right? Because you ain't worth a duck's fart, right? You're just another gaijin. That said, friends, after 3/11, as I say in my review on the Tokyo Forum, things have changed a bit because a lot of the guys who were in town left all of a sudden because they're afraid of the ionizing radiation, and they're afraid, and they ain't coming back. A lot of them have gone for good. So there are probably fewer Gaijins around now than there were a year and a bit ago, right? At a guess, I really don't know. Quoting again from the review. Much like Bob Harris, played by Bill Murray, who shows every inch of his years in this film all over his face. Tommy Lee Jones, that's the actor from Men in Black, Get Out of My Park, and many other films, like he played Two-Face in one of the original Batman films by Joel Schumacher. Tommy Lee Jones, right? Heaven and Earth is probably his most famous role, one of his great roles. So Tommy Lee Jones did print ads for Suntory Boss Coffee and also many television commercials, as you can see if you do a search on the YouTube. Both Bill Murray and Tommy Lee Jones have the scars and both make excellent commercials, friends. Personally, I like the whiskey better than I like the Boss Coffee. Both made by Suntory, by the way. This is very interesting. Bill Murray's character plays a famous TV or movie actor from America who comes to Japan to shoot commercials for Suntory whiskey. And I believe it's the Hibiki 17, which I was sampling just a little bit before, and I will be sampling at the end of the show. It's interesting. Right? He does these commercials. First of all, you see him in a video commercial. The famous line, for relaxing times, make it Suntory time, right? And then you see him in a photo shoot where he does Rat Pack impersonations, James Bond, Roger Moore impersonations, and I think Bill Murray does an excellent job in those scenes. Now, similarly, Tommy Lee Jones, the actor, has in real life for many years, probably not for $1 million or $2 million, which is what Bob Harris gets paid, but in the movie. But in real life, Tommy Lee Jones has done literally maybe over a dozen commercials, right? In terms of print commercials, in terms of TV commercials for Suntory Boss Coffee, which is kind of a coffee you get in a can. And I can tell you, friends, go to the Suntory website, and you can see there are literally dozens of copies. I mean, they have Suntory Black Silk. There's like 3 types of black coffee or 4. There's so many different types of latte coffee, as they call it over here, cafe au lait, as in cafe au lait. In real life, you walk around Tokyo Town, every single coffee machine, every second one, I should say, has a big picture of the creased and weathered face of Tommy Lee Jones, the actor. Unflattering, real Tommy Lee Jones. I think this is a great photograph. And you turn on the TV for the last 10 years, I guess, 10, 15 years, and there's Tommy Lee Jones doing these famous Boss Coffee commercials. Take a look on the YouTube. Go to www.youtube.com. You're probably on it right now watching this video, right? And just do a search at the bar at the top, and have a look and type in Tommy Lee Jones Boss Coffee, BOSSCOFFEE, right? And you will see what I'm talking about. He does commercials in manga cafes and maid cafes, where he's like a worker, but he's like kind of a boss because he's able to get stuff done. Interesting commercials, friends. Very interesting. So the rumor is that Bob Harris himself, the character, played by Bill Murray, is based upon Tommy Lee Jones's real-life exploits in Japan. Right. And they both got weathered faces, and they both got the same kind of different products, different styles, but they got the same kind of raw edge, which is you can see in the movie, right? Okay, friends. Well, I will see you at the next part of the review. Please rate, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you for part 2 of this review, where I will talk about the character of Charlotte and her husband, and Anna Faris's character, and all the other characters in the film, and my thoughts about the impact of the film on Japan and our perception of Japan. Meaning us white people's perception of Japan. Okay, friends, please rate, subscribe, and comment. I'll live for your comments. I will respond to every single one, and I will not censor your comments. Okay, friends, see you in part 2. Take care. Tokyo Joe.